Hi, and welcome back to another Shoto Todoroki cosplay video. This video, I'm going to go over how I made the armbands. For the inside of the bands, I used this 1-inch wide elastic, and since I could not find the width that I actually wanted, I took 4 pieces of this and I zigzag stitched them together to make a very big piece of elastic. And then with my same burgundy fabric that I used for the belt, I cut this long piece out, and I measured mine about 6 inches by 12 inches, and an inch of each side is for the seam allowance. And I just sewed the top long side together and created a tube. With my elastic, I go ahead and shove it inside the tube. I do pull the ends of the elastic out because I will be sewing those down first. And with a zigzag stitch, I go ahead and sew those elastics down. Since the elastic is so big, I actually have to sew from the edge to the middle and then flip it around to do the same thing. And with that stitched, I go ahead and wrap the burgundy fabric around it. I do shove one side inside the other and fold down that edge to get a clean edge. And I do sew with a zigzag stitch on top of that seam. With that sewn, I can go ahead and start on the little armor pieces. Here I'm measuring where I want those armor pieces to start and stop. I do use craft foam for these armor pieces and googly eyes. From what it looks like on the reference image I'm using, the armor pieces are about 2 to 2.5 inches up from his wrist, and they're about 3 inches long. So I take that measurement and put it on some craft foam, and I do 3 inches by 3/4 of an inch wide on each strip. And I will be doubling these up to give it a little bit more thickness. And I'm guesstimating about 6 strips per wrist. And before I cut them in smaller strips, I go ahead and leave them in about 4 strips connected so I can glue the doubles together. And with those glued together, I go ahead and cut them into my 3/4 inch strips. And with my googly eyes, which is a easy, cheap hack for rivets, I go ahead and super glue those on to each end. To get it ready for paint and to make it easier so these don't fly away, I take some masking tape and I actually stick all these strips to my masking tape. And then I use this automotive primer outside to spray paint it first. And once I get my base gray, I go ahead and take some black, darker gray, and some white, and I give it dimension. Which on this project I really didn't have to do since it's a cartoon character and there's really no shading or dimension on his costume to begin with, but I like going the extra mile. And here's the final result of the strips. With some fabric glue, I go ahead and glue those strips around the wristbands, trying to keep them as even as possible going all the way around. And while that was drying, I had actually a book sitting on top of them, so that way I made sure that the armor pieces were in true contact with the fabric. And I did not videotape this because I wasn't sure if it was going to work. I do, after putting these armor pieces on, go back and put some bias tape out of the same color fabric on the tops and bottom. And the bottom part of it, I do add a 1/8 of an inch of elastic into that bias tape because it was not small enough to fit on the wrists of my customer that I'm making this for. And that was a pain to do. So if you do make these off of my video, make sure you put the bias tape on first before you put the armor pieces, or make sure your elastic was tight enough inside. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you next time.